the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week.
Hey, this is Dave Christensen, and this is the Business Story of the Week.
Fantastic. And that is the man himself, Dave Christensen. He is our guest for today. And of course, I am Joshua, your host. Every episode, every day, we start off with a riveting question. And today, the question is, what does it really mean to be the greater than the sum of its part? How does a team full of individuals become greater than the sum of its parts? Well, Dave is the perfect guest to answer that question. He's a keynote speaker, consultant, specializing in leadership and team building. With over 40 years of experience as a Division I and professional football coach, he now shares his expertise with sports teams and organizations, helping them cultivate leaders and build competitive, cohesive teams. And today he's going to be sharing his insight and his experience with us. Dave, thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Doing great, Joshua. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited about this new adventure in my life, doing the keynote speaking and consulting. And so, really excited about it. I was able to be in a leadership position for a lot of years as a college football coach and a professional football coach, leading a couple of programs as the head coach. And so, it's exciting to be able to share what I learned and the different aspects of leadership and team building that were able to help me have success along the way in my career.
It's very interesting, of course, because you took that experience from being a Division I football coach to now being a consultant and coaching leadership and teamwork in a different field, but almost quite similar, of course. Dave, how do you take that? Like, what was the young Dave, Coach Dave like, so to speak, and what is the difference or similarities of the Coach Dave of today?
Well, I was very blessed as a young coach. I played and worked for two Hall of Fame coaches, and so I was able to, learn under them and be tutored under two of the greatest coaches in college football history. And so, as a young coach, what you're trying to do is just try to make it in this profession. And so, I was a sponge early in my career. I worked, a number of years before I made a paycheck because I wanted to coach so bad. And so I tried to soak it all up. And, when I was younger, obviously you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the life experiences that you get along the way. And so after 40 years of coaching and being around young people and trying to find ways to motivate them and teach them how to be great leaders and great teammates, you grow as the years go on. I was young. I probably did a lot more screaming and yelling in the coaching field. And as I grew older, I figured out that was probably not the best way to communicate with people. And so try to develop relationships first and foremost in my later years. Relationships are everything. And so, we often told, our coaches, and I was told by the guys that I worked for that, really nobody is interested in what you know until they know how much you care about. So showing the players and the people that work under you how much you care for them and develop those relationships, then you have a chance to be a great leader and get them to follow you.
Wow, I love that because it's completely different, but also similar in different ways. You talk about the way of communicating, of course, in sports and football, it's almost quite normal and natural to be like, getting in, your players' spaces and you're getting into each other because there's a lot of adrenaline going on. But that isn't always present. That isn't always necessary. Maybe in sports as well, but especially in organizations or corporations, when you're coaching leadership, you don't always have to scream to put your point across, so to speak. Dave, what are other aspects of leadership in football that you should take from your career in football that you now bring into leadership when you are coaching individuals and corporations or organizations?
Well, there's a lot of similarities in running a football program and running a business. I often, said that I was the CEO of a multi-million-dollar business when I was the head football coach at a major college football program. And so, you take a lot of those leadership skills and you can apply them in a lot of different areas. The biggest thing about leadership is to get people to understand exactly what leadership is. And that's the ability to influence somebody for their good, not for your good, but for their good. Because, when you're trying to influence and lead people and get them to follow you for your own good, then that's manipulation. And certainly that's not what you want to do as a great leader. You want to get people to want to emulate the things that you do and the way that you do things. But you got to do it in a positive way. You've got to have a positive attitude. You've got to communicate well with people. Again, I really believe communication is the key to everything in this day and age. So many times now that the young people want to do everything by a text and looking at a phone. And I still believe today in this day and age that looking a person in the eye, sitting there having a conversation eye to eye and getting to know each other and getting to the end of a conversation is so important. And so communication is everything.
I love that because, well, not just with teams, right? Not just with team culture or leadership, with whether or not you're heading an organization or not, communication is important. Like with your relationships, individual relationships, and communication with yourself. How do you talk to yourself? Or do you embrace kindness, or are you too hard on yourself sometimes? And I think that really flows in whatever part or aspect of your life. How much of communication is part of what you call embracing culture, right? When you teach and talk about embracing culture, how does that go hand in hand?
Well, I firmly believe and have always believed that the culture is everything. I took over two programs that were struggling programs and changed the cultures completely. And that's what we emphasize with our staff and with our people is that, listen, we need to go in, we need to have a culture change. We need to get them to be, that we need to get everybody pulling the rope in the right direction, the same direction, and change the culture and implement your culture and believe in your culture and sell your culture. And then when you do that, you have a chance. And both those teams in our first year, we played in the postseason because we were able to get our people to buy into the new culture.
And how does embracing culture, how does it differ or how does it compare to a playbook in a field? Because it's one thing to have those set of plays, everyone getting into or buying into a playbook, but how does that differ when getting a team or individuals to buy into culture?
Well, I think, first of all, if you've had success in your background and in your career, I think people have a tendency to believe in you. So when you tell them, hey, this is what the culture is. Our culture is everything that we do. It's how we do everything. And so you have to constantly evaluate that on a daily basis, and you got to hold everybody accountable to be buying into that culture and believing in that culture. And so you want to get everybody on the same page. Again, it's just how you do everything every single day within your organization is your culture. What you allow is your culture. Just everything that involves a daily operation is going to be what is considered your culture.
I love that. And of course, when it comes to culture, there's so many aspects and elements to it, right, Dave? And what are the key pieces of fundamentals or foundations when it comes to having a good team culture? What do you do today to teach good team culture, whether it was in the football field or today when it comes to organizations?
I think first and foremost, the number one thing is attitude. Every day we wake up and we get to choose the attitude we're going to have for this day. And so, we made it real simple. My last head coaching job, we had two rules in the entire organization for every person that worked in the organization and every player. And it was real simple. Number one was have a great attitude every day and do your job. And that was it. That was what I held people accountable to do every single day, was just show up with a great attitude and do your job. And the thing about attitude is, there are going to be setbacks. There's going to be adversity, but you choose the attitude that you want to have every single day. I wake up every single day and my cup is overflowing. Some people wake up, their cup's half empty. My cup is going to overflow every single day. The number one thing in my life is I'm going to have a great attitude every single day. And so I think that's real important. The other thing I think is really important in building culture is not allowing excuses. because what happens when you start allowing excuses,
I see.
then that buffers, everybody, they feel okay about not performing up to standards. And so, again, there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be failures. That's fine. Own up to it and move on, but certainly don't set excuses. And then, making great choices is another thing that's important. You got to make choices every single day. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life. I'm 63 years old. I still got to make choices all day long. And, making the right choice and doing the right thing is never going to go out of style.
I love that. Making the right choice, having the right attitude is never going to go out of style. But you talk about also like having that attitude of your cup overflowing every day, meaning you're putting it all, giving it your all every day. But Dave, how do you fill that cup first? It's important to fill up that cup first, right? Having that attitude to, having everything complete for me so I can give for others. How do you maintain that kind of attitude, especially when you're constantly teaching others? And how do you then teach that to others so that their cup is always overflowing?
Well, I think, first of all, you've got to be a self-motivator. You've got to have an intrinsic motivation. You've got to be able to, set goals and try to achieve goals. And so, I write a list of goals every single day. I have a goal sheet from 1986 that I wrote down exactly what I wanted to do with a degree, what I wanted to do with coaching, with my family. I still have that today. I get up every morning. I have a list of things that I want to get that done that day. I check them off. And so, I'm motivated to achieve on a daily basis. I think, another aspect that's very, very important, another principle is discipline. Because the great thing is, I was not a real talented athlete. I struggled academically, but I had great discipline. I could make myself get up, be where I needed to be, and do what I needed to do, and do it to the best of my ability. And I could do that way every single day. I worked for 40 years as a football coach, and in 40 years, I was late to work 0 times. And it wasn't because of anything that took ability, because I was limited on ability, but I had great discipline. And so I think having discipline in your life, it gives you a chance to be successful. And here's what I told my kids, and I have 3 adult children, and I told them, when they were in college, getting through college and getting into their careers, I said, here's the deal. If you want to pass everybody in your age group in this day and age, it's real simple, guys. Here's the things you got to do. There's 4 things. Get up, shut up, get up, show up, shut up, and work your tail. You'll go to the top in a hurry, because a lot of people can't even get up. They want to hit the alarm. They want to lay there a little bit longer. They don't want to go to work. They want to work from home. So get up, show up, keep your mouth, because you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you can listen twice as much as you talk. Learn as much as you can learn, because knowledge is power. And then work hard. Have a great work ethic. Don't
I love that.
Be the first one to work and be the last one to leave. And if you do those things, you got a chance to be successful.
And I feel like it's a resilience as well of doing that day in and day out. Because when it comes to in martial arts, when we train, we always talk about showing up, and that's the hardest part. One of the hardest part is really just going there and showing up. But I think it's also that's just half the job, right? The next part is, like you said, the fourth one is the work ethic. And I feel like a lot of us, especially today, and I mean for this generation, I'm not saying that I'm any better than my other generation, my fellow, millennials as well, and the younger generations, but work ethic is so few in between and so far, like we don't, it's a struggle to see others develop, that have a good work ethic. But I understand this is something that you teach as well, Dave. Going back to that kind of opener question that we have, how does a team full of individuals become greater than the sum of its parts? And how does work ethic play a factor into that?
Well, synergy is huge. Okay. And I was fortunate. I've been around a lot of great teams, but we've had teams that weren't quite as talented, but had great success because, the sum of our players was greater, the whole was greater than just the sum of them. We had some average guys, we had some guys who may not have been good enough in certain positions, but when we put them all together, we had one common goal. And what we did is, we set a standard excellence for our players. I always set an expectation, whether I was a head coach or a position coach, I set the expectations. Okay. That was my job, to set the expectations. And my other job was to hold everybody accountable to reach those expectations. I never lowered the expectations, and so on a daily basis, you're constantly trying to evaluate and critique and then let people know where they're at. Are they reaching the expectations? Are they falling short? And what can they do to get better? And again, you know, work ethic, you can train people to have a great work ethic when you set an expectation and you hold them accountable to get to that expectation.
I love that, but it's also difficult, right? Like it's easier said than done, because one thing is you set that expectation to the team, but also you have to constantly show them that you are meeting that same expectation. How do you find that constant, like you said, you talk about self-motivation, you have to set an example, but it must be difficult doing that day in and day out. How do you do it, Dave?
It is the most difficult thing you're going to do, and it takes great discipline to do that. I used to have a staff meeting every single morning at 8 o'clock, and I would go through every single thing that I needed to critique and correct from the day before with my staff. Whether it was stuff that they had to get corrected or stuff that their players had to get corrected on. But I did that every single day. We didn't let things slide. We ran a discipline program. If there was a discipline that needed to be done with a player, it got done the next morning at 5 a.m. And so to me, the most difficult thing is to hold every single person in your organization accountable, okay, to reach the standard or to be striving to get to the standard. And so it takes a lot of discipline to get that done. The other thing is, I always felt it was important to not allow people to be in their comfort zone, because when they're in their comfort zone, they're not getting better. And so every single day when you walked into our building, I wanted you to be out of your comfort zone. Okay? And then you got used to working out of your comfort zone, and that's where growth happens. And so, we didn't want a relaxed atmosphere when I was there. We wanted you to come in there, and it was going to be high intensity in every single thing that we do. And the other thing that we did is we competed on a daily basis. And so people say, well, yeah, coach, but you had the chance to go to practice, and that's what they competed. No. We competed in the classroom. I talk to our players all the time about, listen, if you're getting a B, go in there and compete to get an A. If you're getting a C, go in there to compete to get a B. Compete out in the community. Be the best, community service team in this state. We want to compete in every single thing that we do. It's funny. I tell the story a lot, and people laugh, but we don't play games at my house with my 3 grown children, okay? Because I never let them win. You mention Monopoly, and they're going to start sweating because I took all their money. They've had to pay the rent. I mean, competition's a good thing, and it's going away in this day and age. The participation trophies aren't going to get you to the top in the corporate level, right? You're not rewarded in the corporate world for trying, right?
Yes,
you're rewarding the corporate world by producing. And so I think competition's a great thing, and have a competition, whether it's in your organization, your corporation, your business, your team. Creating competition is how people get better. And so I think competition's important to have.
I love that you mentioned a few elements in there. First, you mentioned accountability, which a daily accountability is sort of making sure everyone is on the same page. And on your website, you focus a lot about cultivating discipline and collaboration. And I think that part of that collaboration is making sure everyone is on the same page. But also part of that collaboration is competition. But Dave, how do you make competition healthy? How do you make sure that, is there time for relaxation? Of course, like there's always high intensity when it comes to your practices, when it comes to your, to your regimen, so to speak. And there's always going to be intense competition. But how do you keep that healthy? And is there some room for relaxation? And when do you do that?
Absolutely. When I was a college football coach, pro football coach, we worked a lot of hours. I used to tease people. It was great when we only had to work a half day, because a 12-hour day was a short day for us. So, we were used to working 16 hours a day and 7 days a week. And so you have to have some time away. So every summer, we get 4 weeks of vacation and go out and relax. And absolutely, you need to recharge your batteries. You need to be able to relax. You need to do things that you enjoy doing and not have the stress of the competition and competing and those type of things. But when it's time to do the job, you got to crank it up. And if you want to get to the top, you got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to compete. You got to have the discipline to do it on a daily basis, because you got to do it over and over and over and over. To this day, I get up at 5 o'clock. I come into my office. I have a list of things I want to get done. I'm going to listen to some audio books. I'm going to work on some speaking presentations. I'm going to write some emails. Then I'm going to go exercise at 7 o'clock. So from 5 to 7, I'm going to get things done. I'm going to go exercise at 7 o'clock. When I get done with that, it may be 8:30 or 9 o'clock. I'm going to come back. I'm going to get back in here at the office, do some more work. Then I've got things around the house I got to get done. And then, hey, if I get all those things done, guess what? I enjoy playing golf once in a while. So at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I may go out and play golf and relax and enjoy it. But the number one thing is I've got to get through my checklist, my goal list for that day. And, if I get through all those things, then yeah, you get through all those things, then yeah, you better have something you can do to relax and enjoy yourself.
And reward yourself. I think that's really
And reward
important.
yourself,
And I like
absolutely.
right, because you got everything done. It's more rewarding that way because you're not thinking, I got it all done today. I'm going to reward myself. I love that. I love that reminder, Dave. And of course, to all our audience and listeners out there, the website is coachchristensen.com. That is coachchristensen.com. Coach Dave, where else can we find you? Where else can we connect with you? Where can we learn more?
I'm on LinkedIn, and so Dave Christensen. It's Dave quotes Coach C Christensen on LinkedIn, and so you can find me on there. Obviously, the website's up and running. I'll be adding some video to it now. I'm adding content and getting some of the presentations put together, and so those are the best places to be able to find me. You can find me on Twitter, Coach C on Twitter with a KOACH_C on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And so we got content out there just about every single day talking about, principles of leadership and team building and even just success principles for everyday life. A lot of these things, there's a lot of carryover in them, Joshua. And so, it's exciting to be able to share these things with people. And we're real excited to, get the name out there and have our opportunity to give back because of a sport that gave me so much. It's really important for me to have the ability to give.
Fantastic. And of course, it's remarkable. You taking those lessons, you're sharing it to everyone today. And of course, the website, again, is coachchristensen.com. Go find Coach Dave, Coach C, over on all the social media. Coach Dave, thank you so much for being on this show. One last bit of wisdom you'd love to leave behind our audience and listeners. What would it be? Take us home.
Well, I think living life the right way, treating people the right way. Again, that's what everything in life's about. It's all about relationships and treat people with respect and, respect each other and love each other and help each other because we all want to be successful.
Love each other, help each other, be kind to others, and be kind to yourself. Coach Dave, thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for being on here to the show today. To all our audience and listeners out there, we hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.